Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Monday, August 26th. I woke up this morning realizing that this week we're going to be in September already. This summer has flown by. I haven't done enough summer things really. I haven't even gone tubing yet. But then you look at the weather and it's still going to be high 80s all week. So maybe I can get home early one day in the week and just go tubing somewhere in Golden or Boulder. Anyways, I feel like September really marks the end of summer. Kids are going back to school. Well, at least the college kids are going back to school. The smaller kids are still 1 week away. We have John back here. His kids are going to be in college or in school September 7th. That is next week. It's going to be, there's Jesse. Yeah, John was going to be there, but I guess John is busy. Beautiful, beautiful John with the bald face. I don't have kids, so I don't really know how that feels, but I feel like for parents with kids especially, the end of summer is really marked by when their kids go back to school and it's just over, it's back to normal. Anyways, I digress. Let's talk sports. And there is a lot of sports to talk about, starting, of course, with the Denver Broncos, ending their preseason with 3 wins, 3-0. Yesterday, they win against the Arizona Cardinals, 38-12. Most notable, I think we all know who the second quarterback, the backup quarterback behind Bo Nix is going to be. It's going to be Zach Wilson. He finished 16 of 25 passing for 251 yards with 2 touchdowns, 22 yards rushing, and a touchdown himself. Most exciting was his 46-yard throw for a touchdown to Brandon Johnson. And here's what Johnson had to say about that.
It's a lot of focus, a lot of trust that I wasn't going to get my head knocked off. But, yeah, it's a lot of focus.
Because that did look like one of those you could get hurt and make the catch, right?
No, it definitely did. But the ball was more important at the time. So, yeah.
How good did it feel to pick, the right time to have your best performance of the preseason?
Man, it feels good. It always feels good to have success out there, man. And I'm just glad I just go out here and every game I get to play with my brothers out here, man, I enjoy it.
Yeah, and that also means that Jarrett Stidham is likely going to be the third quarterback, the second backup. I kind of feel bad for him. This is pro sports. This is what happens if you're just not good enough. But I feel like this is a career of disappointments for him. He was the second man behind Tom Brady. Obviously, impossible to overtake that. Then Brady left, and he was still the second man behind the new guy coming in. Then he went to Vegas, where he was the second man. Then he went to Denver, where he was the second man behind Russell Wilson. He plays the last 2 games of last year. Feels good about himself. There's 2 new quarterbacks coming in. One of them a rookie, and he's the third quarterback. Can't help but feel a little bit for him. But like I said, this is pro sports, and if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. Stidham did have some nice words for Bo and about his own role in the team, but he also couldn't help but show his own frustration and annoyance.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to do whatever I can to help Bo get prepared. Obviously he's never had a real season like this in the NFL, so I'm going to help him in whatever way I can. And then also be ready to go if I need to be. So, just ready for the season to get here and get started. Yeah, first of all, obviously I was very disappointed. I know I'm a starting quarterback in this league. I have 0 doubts about that. And, it just didn't shake out my way. But I know what kind of player I am, kind of person I am. And like I said earlier, I'll be ready to go if I need to be. And, yeah, like I said, I have no doubts that I'm a starting caliber quarterback in this league.
Yeah, so it seems that he will be the third quarterback behind Bo Nix and behind Zach Wilson. even though he still feels like he could be a starter somewhere in the NFL. It doesn't look like he's going to leave Denver anymore. It also isn't going, I think he's going to stay in this 53-man roster. They're not going to give him up. We'll hear all about that tomorrow. That's when we know who will be in that 53-man lineup and who will be taken out of the team. And basically who will end their career that way, because you usually can't get back up after being thrown out of the 53-man roster. Our coworker Nate Jackson made a really good video about that we posted on Sunday here on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitter, please go to our YouTube after this show and watch the video. Nate Jackson has been in that seat, and he had a really thoughtful and in-depth video about how it feels for those guys fighting for that last roster spot in yesterday's game. And I can only imagine how it feels for those players right now after having played that game. A guy like Brandon Johnson, who had a really good game yesterday, Nate Jackson said, you cannot win your roster spot in that last game, but you can definitely lose it. And also Sean Payton talked about that yesterday, about how difficult it is to make those decisions.
Sean,
he mentioned that he himself has been in that position. And here's what he had to say.
Sean, kind of a more philosophical question. When you have veterans that you may be releasing in any given year, do you try to get those guys, noticed sooner so that either there's a trade or so they can hit the street and maybe have a chance to get on someone's 53? Does that factor in?
No, I don't think today, tonight, tomorrow morning change. The league's plenty smart enough to. It's never easy, this process, and it is what it is. I've been in it myself a number of times, formerly as a player. I can remember being real naive up in one team thinking they were going to start me, and I went in and I got cut and I couldn't believe it. I think that, look, you have the 53, you have the practice squad, there's paths for decisions, and part of it is managing the roster. So George and I have met the better part of the last couple of weeks, each week relative to where we're at with certain decisions. I think we have a good handle on it.
I do believe that Sean Payton knows better than me, saying that after you're out of that 53-man roster, you have no chance of playing again. I took Nate Jackson's word for it. I trust him, but I also trust Sean Payton. There are paths to still be playing in the NFL, but it's definitely a very difficult path forward. Tomorrow we will hear who will be in that 53-man roster, but the best and biggest players we all know, it's going to be the names that we don't really care for, but they themselves definitely do, of course. There's way more Broncos to be talked about, but not by me. At 2, we have Off Field with Nate Jackson, Brendan Crystal, and Liv Moods, and they will tell you everything about this game and everything about everything going forward in the NFL. So definitely check that out. Moving on to the BMW Championships Golf. And if JJ is watching, I know that JJ is going to be so happy that I'm talking about this. But how could I not? This was a fun and exciting week in Castle Pines. The BMW Championships, a big PGA Tour. Last time it was held in Colorado was in 2014. That was in Cherry Hills. And now 10 years later, it's back in Colorado. The first PGA Tour stop since 2014, the BMW Championships, is held in a different city every year. And it was fun to see it in Denver or in Colorado, because the altitude changes a lot of things for the golfers. And we talk about altitude, Colorado altitude in pro sports a lot here at Guerilla Sports. Shelby Harris, former Bronco, now playing for the Cleveland Browns, also said one time in his show, I don't think any Denver team should ever lose here in Denver. Big words. But yeah, the altitude is real, and we all know that. We all know that if we go to the beach somewhere or whatever, we suddenly have a lot more air, and people that come here have trouble the first few days acclimatizing to this altitude. Less air, less oxygen. But the funny thing in golf is that is not the reason why golfers have to adjust to Colorado. It is actually the ball that does a lot of different things in this altitude. I have it written out here. The thin air literally makes the ball lighter, so it flies a lot farther. And then you could say, okay, then you hit it not as hard. That was a good swing. You hit it not as hard. But that's not that easy because there's less air resistance, the ball also curves less, so it does a lot of funny things. And we saw that this week with some of the best golfers like Scottie Scheffler, who are having trouble with that. And I found it almost comical, the mistakes that they made. And I can say it's almost comical because I have no interest in these players. I guess for fans, this was a hard watch. For me, I thought it was just funny to see the mistakes that were being made. Like I said, Scottie Scheffler made too many mistakes to win. There was one guy who I would root for, and that is Wyndham Clark, Highlands Ranch's own. He was doing well until Sunday, where he made a little too many mistakes for birdies. So Wyndham Clark eventually also didn't contend for the title. Who won eventually was a big upset, a big surprise. Keegan Bradley, 38 years old, who's been in the PGA Tour since 2008, has won 7 events in total, has won 3 events in the last 2 years. Someone who we didn't really expect was going to be a title contender here, but he definitely did it. And he is going to be the captain for the Ryder Cup in 2025, September, that is, 2025. And this will definitely help cement that choice for him as the captain, giving him and giving everyone else a little more confidence that he can actually get it done. Also, very important, this Saturday broke the attendance record for the BMW Championships. Like I said, JJ, big fan of golf. He was there too. He said the atmosphere was electric, a lot of fun to be there. And like I said, BMW Championship is in a different city every year. So the fact that Denver or Colorado is taking that attendance record now is a huge step for bringing back the PGA Tour to Denver. Maybe not next year right away, but hopefully soon in the future. It was a very, very fun and interesting week for golf fans here in Colorado. Moving on. We've got some short news, starting with Aaron Gordon. He's going to switch his number from 50 to 32 in honor of his late brother, Drew Gordon, who passed away in May after a car accident. Very sad for the family. But this is a beautiful way, I think, to honor his late brother, who always wore number 32 in his professional career, mostly in Europe. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful gesture. I can't imagine how difficult it is to receive such news and to try and live with it. Beautiful gesture. Then also another number 4, Russell Westbrook. He's going to be, like I said, Russell Westbrook is going to play with number 4. Hunter Tyson gave up the number. He's going to play with number 5. Initially, there were talks about Westbrook getting number 0, but Christian Brown said, no, I like that number. And I like the number 0 on Christian Brown. I kind of want to get that jersey. So Russell Westbrook, number 4. Hunter Tyson, number 5. Christian Brown, still number 0. Then moving on to the CU Buffs. Coach Prime, there was a lot of news around Coach Prime this weekend. Starting with this missing columnist from the Denver Post, Sean Keeler, saying that he was not welcome to ask any questions anymore, not just to Coach Prime, but to any of his staff members after writing some critical articles. And you cannot write critical about someone like Coach Prime, I guess. That being said, Coach Prime is really good. He treats his players really well. He's really good for his team. Showing also to this weekend, he chose to give away, or he chose to open bank accounts for all his players with kids. There's a video right here of it.
You ain't done nothing wrong. Matter of fact, you did something right. And a child is not a mistake. A child is an opportunity to mature you, grow you, advance you, and give you some skills that you guys gonna come? All right. Bring it up here. And this is unbelievable. 5430 Alliance. They have something to tell you that we've been working on.
Coach Prime asked us to step up and to join him today in opening up accounts for the children of some of the student athletes that he just appreciates so much. Today we're starting you all out with $2,121 because that coach
We're gonna go beyond this, okay?
$2,121 for the kids of college athletes. I think that is huge, and that shows how much Coach Prime cares about his players. I got to be careful saying stuff now because this is a huge gesture, and this is huge for those players and their families. And now to go into the negatives of Coach Prime, I want to be careful because he is a good person. I trust that he is a good person. But you're also a head coach of a very prestigious college football program. And he told a journalist that he couldn't ask any more questions because he was too critical. So on one hand, he is very good for his team, but he's not a good role model for, I guess, the rest of the world, the fans, journalists, I feel like at all. How can you deny someone access who's critical of you? I think that is so important in anything, to be able to criticize whatever, whoever, especially someone where people buy tickets, people buy merchandise, people attend the schools just because of that football program. You have a responsibility there. And if people question you about that responsibility, then you answer those questions. I don't understand how you can deny a journalist that right, which I think is a right. And we'll see how long this will go on. They told Sean Keeler, they told the Denver Post, it is going to be indefinitely. So they could literally tell him forever, you're not allowed to ask questions anymore. Well, I do know one thing. Sean Keeler is not going to stop being critical. He's just going to have to rely on other people's questions that Coach Prime answers. So we'll see how that goes. Moving on from Buffaloes to Bulls. I think this is the first time we're ever talking about this sport, and probably the last time in a very long while. The professional bull riders. Why I want to talk about this is their headquarters, which has been stationed in Pueblo, Colorado since 2007, is moving to Fort Worth, Texas. And before it was in Pueblo, it was in Colorado Springs. So for the first time in decades, Colorado is going to lose the headquarters of one of, if not the biggest, bull riding organization, professional bull riding organization. It involves the loss of 40 jobs here. Those people could probably relocate to Texas if they want to, or they lose their job. So that's a very big step for those families. Just wanted to mention that because it is big news to the families and to the people working there. And I hope they're all doing well. Then one more thing in short news, the Paralympics, they're starting on Wednesday. We've had the whole Olympics cycle here. We went through it. We talked about it almost every day. And now people are slowly realizing, wait, there's another tournament in Paris. The Paralympics. The thing is, more and more people are actually realizing and watching the Paralympics. It is a huge tournament, a huge event for all athletes with some sort of physical disability. I actually interviewed a lot of Paralympians in the Netherlands when I still worked as a journalist there. And it is so impressive to me that they have had some of the hardest moments of their lives that we can't even fathom. Losing an arm, losing a foot or a leg, or just battling through something that they've had their whole life, that we are blessed with not to have to deal with that. And then to also become pro athletes at the highest level. I've seen them perform. That is something that nothing to joke about. It's so impressive. It's going to be a lot easier now to watch the Paralympics because Peacock decided to show every event just like the Olympics on Peacock. They even have the gold zone just like on with the Olympics. So that's going to be very big. But the other reason why the Paralympics have grown so much is because I don't want to joke about it, but they do. They joke about their sports a lot. And it got them to 4.5 million followers on TikTok and millions upon millions upon millions of views on their videos. We can't show these videos because Paralympics, just like the Olympics, have a very strict, copyright infringement law. So if we even show 10 seconds of video, we could get tens of thousands of dollars in claims. So we'd rather not do that. We show you this so you can find it on TikTok. What's so interesting about the Paralympics TikTok is that they actively make fun of their athletes. They jump on trends with audios and have people laugh at the athletes while still showing the amazing stuff that they do. I think it's funny, it's witty. It's never crossing that line, but it's definitely very close to it. But they've asked a lot of Paralympians about what they think about it, because obviously people are going to criticize this. And most, if not all, Paralympians are saying, no, we love this. We love this for our sport because it brings so much attention to it. I mean, you can't deny the numbers. So many people are hearing about the Paralympics, and they're going to know that it's going to start this Wednesday. So that's very big. If you haven't checked it out, check out the Paralympics on TikTok. They're definitely different on different social platforms, so you're not going to find the same stuff on Instagram or YouTube. If you don't have TikTok, I think you can still watch some of the videos. It's definitely interesting. I laugh every time I see it, and I'm very glad the Paralympians do too. And I'm very happy that they get more and more recognition for the extreme and unbelievable things that they do. All right, we got two more things I want to talk about. The first one, college football season has started in Dublin, Ireland. When I heard that they started the season in a different country, as a European, I couldn't believe that. College football, to me, when I first moved to the US 3 years ago, it felt like it was an amateur sport, or at least youth leagues. You know, it's youth players that are not there yet for the big league. Meanwhile, I started to realize that college sports are maybe even bigger than the big professional leagues, especially in football. So don't attack me on that. I know now how wrong I was. But the fact that they go to a different country to play a game there was very interesting to me. Georgia Tech and Florida State opened the season in Dublin. Georgia won the game 24-21 in a massive upset. Last year, Florida State went undefeated until their quarterback got a bad injury at the end of the season. And the NCAA told them, okay, then we're not going to take you to the playoffs. Florida State tried to petition to still get them in the playoffs because they were undefeated. But then the NCAA said, well, without your quarterback, you're not going to be competitive. And I guess the first game of the season, the NCAA was right. Georgia Tech won against Florida State 24-21 in a stadium that was sold out, 47,500 people, I believe. And you would think, oh, so a lot of Irish people are into football, American football. No, 25,000 people came from the US to Ireland to watch this game. That is crazy to me. And I know that more and more American leagues are doing those games in different countries. The NFL has gone to Brazil, to England, to Germany. You had the NHL going to Finland with the Colorado Avalanche. Big games, big moments. And there's a lot of fans in those countries that would love to watch those games. But to me, it's so crazy to fly to another continent to play one game and then to fly back. That's also huge for those players to then have to go back and get back into the rhythm and all that. European soccer teams have started doing this more and more too, but they're doing it in the off season. You had Arsenal here this summer, Liverpool, Manchester United. Even if you're not a soccer fan, you probably have heard of those teams. And that might have been in the last few years because they're doing stuff like this. But that's for American fans to get into soccer and to start following those teams and buy their merchandise and all that. With American football, or football, I should say, something that almost only Americans play, they just fly in their own fans to another country. That was so interesting to me. And if you want to try and explain this to me, I know my coworkers have for weeks now, I can't wrap my head around it. But if you want to try and convince me that this is a normal thing to do, I think it is a very smart thing to do to grow the sport. I don't know if it's growing the sport if you bring in your own fans, but I see that it's still growing the sport. Pat McAfee had a live show on ESPN from a bar in Dublin before the game. The bar was full of Irish people loving that. So there is some growth to the game, but you're still flying in most of your fans from the country where people are already fans of your sport. It's definitely going to bring in a lot of money, so I get it, but it's still so funny to me. It is so weird to me. I would not fly to another country to see my favorite soccer team play. They'll get back to where I live, and I'll see them there again. Anyways, I got one more thing to talk to you about. It's already 10:28. Man, we've been going for a while. I'll keep it short then. The Colorado Rapids, they have qualified for the Champions Cup. Yesterday, they won against the Philadelphia Union in a penalty shootout for third place in the Leagues Cup. And I'll explain a little bit later why those two leagues exist and what it means. The Rapids played 2-2 in regular time, and it went to penalty kicks. And a big man, once again, goalkeeper Zach Steffen, who got them through a lot of rounds already, who played an amazing game and then stopped the first two penalty kicks in a penalty shootout. If you don't understand soccer, that is very impressive. Goalkeepers, they're lucky if they stop one or maybe two penalty kicks in all of the penalty shootout, which is 5 kicks. He stopped the first two, which almost made it impossible for the Union to win. So the Colorado Rapids became third in the Leagues Cup. But why would they play a third place game in a tournament? It's only, you only care about the winner, right? Well, the numbers 2 and 3 are going to be qualified right away for the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Let's get into it a little bit. The Leagues Cup is kind of an exhibition tournament in the middle of the season, sort of like the NBA in-season tournament, where they just show off their best players, the best teams. It is the Mexican League versus the MLS, the North American League, and their best teams are playing. It's not worth too much, but it's just something you want to be good at, and you want to show everyone how fun soccer can be. The CONCACAF Champions Cup, that is a tournament that is basically set up the same way, but with all Caribbean teams, because it is all of North America, and the winner gets to play in the Club World Cup. So it's got a lot more prestige. It's also a lot older. It's got a lot more history. And the Champions Cup really means something. The Colorado Rapids, they beat 4 Mexican teams in the Leagues Cup to get to the semifinals that they eventually lost. The Mexican League is regarded as a way better league than the MLS. So for the Rapids, a team that's also not quite the best in the MLS, to beat 4 Mexican teams was big. And Mexican fans were saying, well, it's just the Leagues Cup. We actually didn't really care. Well, the Rapids cared, and now they're in the Champions Cup. So hats off to them, and hats off to Zach Steffen for getting them there. All right, exactly 10:30. This is perfect timing. Thank you guys so much for watching. We have Off Ice today with Jesse and JJ? With just Jesse. Well, we can at least see that beautiful face. I'm very happy to have just you on the show, Jesse. I know you can do it. I know you're an amazing host and all that. And then at 2, we have Off Field with Nate Jackson, Liv Moods, and Brandon Cristal. Like I said, talking way more about the Broncos, way more in depth about who will be the second quarterback, why it's going to be Zach Wilson, and a lot more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day. Have a great week. And I'll see you next week.